Chosen one, you are not here by accident. You did not stumble onto this message by chance. This moment has been orchestrated by heaven itself, aligned by divine timing, because your spirit was ready to hear what is about to be released. Chosen one. Something is wrong with the world right now, and you see it. Not with your eyes, but with your spirit. Everything looks the same on the surface, yet deep within you there has been a stirring, a holy discomfort, a quiet knowing that the atmosphere has shifted. And the reason you can feel it is because you were never meant to move blindly with the crowd. You were anointed to perceive before others understand. Anointed one, do not mistake this awareness for fear. Scripture says in 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7 that God has not given you a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. What you are sensing is discernment awakening. Heaven is sharpening your perception because you are standing at the edge of a supernatural turning point. There is an unseen transfer taking place, a lifting, a separating, a positioning. God is preparing to move you from awareness into alignment, from observation into elevation. This is the moment when the weight you've been carrying begins to make sense. So lean in, chosen one. Still your spirit. If this resonates, align with what heaven is releasing, stay connected, and quietly seal this moment by commenting 777 below. What follows is not information. It is activation. Chosen one. There is a reason your spirit has felt unusually sensitive lately. It's not imagination, and it's not weakness. You've been picking up on something beneath the surface of everyday life, something most people don't have language for. You walk into a room and feel tension before anyone speaks. You scroll through your phone and feel heavier instead of informed. Even silence doesn't feel neutral anymore. It feels charged. That's because the atmosphere has changed and your spirit knows it. There was a time when you could move through the day without this constant internal alertness. You didn't have to brace yourself emotionally before leaving the house. Now even simple moments feel layered, like you're living in two worlds at once. One world looks normal on the outside, but the other is vibrating with unrest. And the reason this has been confusing is because nothing obvious has happened to you personally to justify how intense it feels. Yet the weight is real. Anointed one. This is what discernment feels like before understanding catches up. Before clarity comes, there is often a season where your spirit senses what your mind cannot yet organize. Scripture speaks about watchmen who perceive danger while the city still sleeps. You are not panicking, you are perceiving. And perception always comes before positioning. I remember a season in my own life when everything around me looked fine on paper. Work was steady, life was moving, yet inside it felt like reality had thinned. Conversations felt hollow, crowds felt overwhelming. It was as if I was watching life instead of fully standing inside it. At first I tried to rationalize it. I blamed stress. I blamed age. I told myself I was overthinking, but the feeling didn't leave. It intensified, especially around people. That's when I realized this wasn't coming from my circumstances. It was coming from the atmosphere. Chosen one. What you are feeling is not fear in the way the world defines it. Fear panics. This doesn't feel like panic. It feels like awareness paired with uncertainty. It feels like your nervous system is trying to stay alert because something unseen is shifting. Your heart beats a little faster, not because danger is present, but because change is near, and change always shakes the surface before it reveals its purpose. There is a low-level pressure many are living under right now, a constant hum of anticipation. People are quicker to anger, slower to trust, and more guarded than ever. You see it in grocery stores. You feel it in passing glances. You notice it in how kindness feels unexpected instead of normal. This isn't just social decline, it's spiritual fatigue. Humanity is carrying more information, more opinions, more fear, and more unresolved tension than it was ever designed to hold. Anointed One, the reason this exhausts you more than others is because you are not meant to numb yourself to survive. Many have learned how to dull their awareness just to cope. You couldn't. You tried to distract yourself, but even distraction felt heavy. News became stressful. Silence became loud. Even entertainment started to feel like a burden. That's because your spirit refuses to fall asleep in a time that requires clarity. There were nights when your body felt restless for no clear reason. Your breathing felt shallow. Your chest felt tight. Not because something was wrong with you, but because your body was responding to a world in constant alert mode. Scripture says the spirit and the body are connected, and when the spirit is sensing instability, the body feels it. You're not broken for feeling this. You're honest. Chosen One. You may have caught yourself longing for the past, not because it was perfect, but because it was quieter inside. You remember when people were present in moments instead of scanning screens, when conversations didn't feel like ideological battlegrounds, when the stress of the day was simple and finite. That longing isn't weakness, it's your spirit remembering a rhythm it was created for. But hear this clearly, you were not born too late. You were born precise. You were placed in this time not to escape it, but to remain anchored while everything else shakes. The same sensitivity that makes this season feel heavy is the sensitivity heaven uses to prepare vessels for transfer. Before elevation, there is always awareness. Before alignment, there is discomfort. Before clarity, there is pressure. Anointed One, many are feeling dread without direction. You are feeling direction without full explanation. That's the difference. Others sense something is wrong and spiral. You sense something is wrong and seek meaning. You question. You observe. You withdraw, not to isolate, but to stay intact. That is wisdom, even when it feels lonely. There were moments you wondered if you were the only sane one left, watching people rush toward division, aggression, and noise. You felt like warning others, like slowing them down, but you also sensed they weren't ready to hear it. That frustration wasn't pride, it was grief. Grief for a world forgetting how to care. Grief for connection being replaced by control. Grief for humanity trading depth for belonging. Chosen One. Heaven sees that grief, and heaven does not waste awareness like this. You are not being shown the cracks in the system to despair. You are being shown so you won't be deceived by surface stability. When structures tremble, those who can feel it early are protected from collapse later. This is not the end of hope. This is the beginning of repositioning. The same pressure that has made life feel unreal is the pressure that precedes sudden alignment. Just as Scripture says, the vision comes at an appointed time and does not delay. There is an appointed moment when confusion gives way to clarity. You are closer to that moment than you realize. So if you felt tired in a way sleep doesn't fix, if you felt alone even among people, if you felt like the world is louder but emptier at the same time, let this settle in your spirit. You are not malfunctioning, you are being recalibrated. And recalibration always feels uncomfortable before it feels powerful. Stay still here, let your spirit breathe. There is more being revealed. But first you must understand this. What feels like heaviness is actually preparation. Chosen One. There is a reason the weight you've been carrying doesn't lift when you try to explain it away. This is not the kind of heaviness that disappears with rest vacations or positive thinking. It's the kind that follows you quietly, even on good days. You've noticed it when you wake up and your first breath already feels occupied. You've noticed it when your phone lights up and your chest tightens before you even read anything. That reaction isn't random. It's your spirit recognizing that the pace and pressure of this world have moved out of alignment with truth. Anointed One. Many people are living in survival mode without realizing it. Their bodies are constantly producing low-level adrenaline, always bracing for the next headline, the next crisis, the next shift. Over time, that state becomes normal to them. But it never became normal to you. Your system keeps rejecting it. You keep trying to calm yourself, telling your heart to slow down, but the environment keeps pulling it back into tension. That internal battle is exhausting, and you've felt it. I remember walking through ordinary places during a season like this and feeling as if the air itself was heavier. Nothing dramatic was happening yet. My shoulders felt burdened, my thoughts crowded. Being around people amplified it. Not because they were doing anything wrong, but because everyone was carrying something unseen. It was like walking through a room filled with static. You feel it too. That's why you sometimes retreat. Not because you don't love people, but because your spirit needs quiet to stay clear. Chosen One, do not confuse this with weakness or anxiety alone. Anxiety is a symptom, not the source. The source is prolonged exposure to uncertainty without grounding. The world has trained people to live on the edge of bad news, to expect disruption at any moment. Your body has learned to anticipate impact. That's why your heart feels like it's beating harder than it should. That's why your breathing sometimes shortens at night. Your spirit has been on watch for too long. Scripture speaks of a peace that surpasses understanding. That peace is not the absence of trouble, it is the presence of alignment. Right now, many lack alignment, so their peace has nowhere to rest. You feel that absence because you were designed to carry peace, not chaos. And when peace is missing from the environment, you feel it like hunger. Anointed One. You may have wondered if this is just what getting older feels like. You told yourself that with age comes awareness, responsibility, and fear. But deep down you know that explanation doesn't satisfy what you're experiencing. This is bigger than age. This is collective. It's global. People across cultures and nations are feeling the same undercurrent of dread, the same anticipation of something undefined. You didn't imagine that. You recognized it. And here is where heaven gently intervenes. The awareness you carry is not meant to crush you. It is meant to prepare you. God does not awaken discernment without intention. He does not sharpen perception without purpose. Before every shift in Scripture, there were those who sensed it before it arrived. They felt the tremors before the earthquake. They noticed the drought before the famine. They were not alarmists. They were watchful. Chosen One. Your sensitivity is part of your assignment. You were not created to be numb. You were created to be awake. And in times like these, awakening feels uncomfortable because it separates you from the crowd. You can no longer consume information the same way. You can no longer engage in shallow distractions without feeling empty afterward. Even conversations that once felt harmless now feel draining. Your spirit is rejecting what no longer feeds it. You've tried to release the stress. You've tried breathing exercises, routines, distractions, yet the weight persists. That's because this is not something you release by effort. It's something that lifts when understanding arrives. Pressure without meaning feels unbearable. Pressure with purpose becomes training. Anointed One. There is also a grief layered into what you're feeling. Grief for a version of the world that felt kinder, slower, more human. You remember when people acknowledged each other, when saying hello wasn't strange, when disagreement didn't mean exile. Now trust feels rare. People glare instead of greet. They move through each other like obstacles. You still try to be kind. You still open doors, make space, offer courtesy. Sometimes you even shield yourself just to avoid the tension. That effort alone tells heaven something about your heart. You are tired because you are swimming against the current of dehumanization, and swimming upstream always costs more energy. But hear this clearly. Chosen one kindness is not weakness in a collapsing culture, it is resistance. Love is not naive in a hardened world, it is prophetic. The exhaustion you feel is not just physical, it is moral fatigue. You are weary of watching people tear each other apart over ideas, identities, and power. You are weary of seeing dignity treated as optional. You are weary of systems that reward outrage and punish compassion. And sometimes you wonder if you're the only one seeing how dangerous that path is. You feel like you're calling out warnings that echo back in silence. Anointed One, Heaven hears those warnings even when people don't. And heaven is not indifferent to this moment. There are times when silence from above feels confusing, but silence does not mean absence. It often means preparation. God prepares answers before he reveals solutions. He prepares people before he changes systems. This is why your longing for simplicity keeps returning. Not because you want to go backward, but because your spirit recognizes what sustains life. Simple connection, shared presence, moments without performance. You remember friendships that weren't divided by ideology. You remember joy that wasn't curated. Those memories are not escapism, they are reminders of what is worth restoring. Chosen one. You were not shown what is wrong with the world to become bitter. You were shown so you would not be seduced by false normalcy. Many will adapt to dysfunction and call it progress. You cannot. That refusal is holy. That discomfort is protective. There is also something else stirring beneath the fatigue hope that refuses to die. Even as things feel like they are accelerating in the wrong direction, something in you believes change is still possible. Not slow, incremental change, but sudden correction. Scripture reminds us that things can turn quickly, that a moment can undo years. That belief didn't come from optimism, it came from faith formed in pressure. Anointed One. The season you are in is not about fixing the world. It is about being positioned within it. Heaven is aligning those who can stand without losing themselves, those who can feel deeply without becoming consumed, those who can see clearly without becoming cynical. You are being trained to carry clarity in chaos. If you felt alone, it's because this path is narrow. If you felt misunderstood, it's because awareness isolates before it connects. But you are not abandoned. You are being gathered quietly with others who can see. And when the time comes, that gathering will matter more than you can imagine. Let this truth settle. The weight you feel is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is evidence that something is being prepared through you. Chosen one. There is a moment when awareness matures into responsibility. At first, you simply feel that something is wrong. Then you try to ignore it. Then you question yourself. But eventually, a quieter realization settles in. You are seeing what others are not ready to face. And that realization changes how you move through the world. You've noticed how quickly people defend ideas that don't even bring them peace. You've watched how easily fear becomes identity, how outrage becomes belonging. It's not that people are evil, it's that many are tired, ungrounded, and hungry for certainty. So they attach themselves to voices that speak loudly, even if those voices don't speak truth. You see this pattern clearly, and that clarity has cost you comfort. Anointed One, you've learned that not every crowd is safe for your spirit. Not every conversation is worth entering. Not every opinion needs your response. This has made you quieter, more selective, sometimes misunderstood. People may have assumed you became distant because you thought you were better than them. But the truth is simpler and heavier. You were protecting your inner alignment. I remember a season when I tried to stay engaged with everything, every debate, every trend, every conversation. I told myself it was important to stay informed, to stay relevant. But the more I engaged, the more fragmented I felt. My thoughts became noisy. My peace thinned. One day, I realized I was borrowing anxiety that wasn't mine to carry. That was the moment I learned discernment isn't just about seeing what's wrong. It's about knowing what to step away from. Chosen one. You've been learning that lesson too. You've felt the pull to withdraw, not into isolation, but into stillness. The world calls that disengagement. Heaven calls it consecration. There are seasons when God separates his people not to hide them, but to preserve them. When everything is loud, those who can still hear must guard their hearing. You've sensed how people are being told what to think, who to accept, and what to fear. You've watched individuals surrender their discernment just to stay inside a group, and something in you resists that surrender. You cannot trade truth for belonging. You cannot trade peace for applause. That resistance has made you feel out of place, but it has also kept you intact. Anointed one. The world is experiencing a crisis of thinking, not just a crisis of events. Many have outsourced their inner authority. They no longer sit with questions. They absorb answers. They no longer listen inwardly. They react outwardly. This is why conversations feel shallow. This is why deep talks feel rare. It's not that depth no longer exists. It's that depth requires patience, humility, and courage, qualities pressure erodes if they are not protected. You have always preferred depth. You've always wanted conversations that heal rather than perform. You've always valued understanding over winning. In this climate, that preference feels like a disadvantage. You've learned to stay quiet because honesty feels risky. Even touching on real issues can trigger offense. So you choose silence, not because you have nothing to say, but because you know when words will be wasted. Chosen one. Silence in a noisy age is not absence. It is presence without compromise. Scripture speaks of a still small voice that carried truth when thunder failed. You are learning to live from that place. You are learning that not every truth needs a platform, and not every platform deserves your truth. This withdrawal has come with loneliness. There's no way around that. When you step out of echo chambers, you step into quieter territory. Your circle narrows. Your interactions simplify. You talk to fewer people, but the conversations that remain matter more. Even so, there are moments you wish you could belong without bending. You wish you could exist without explaining. That desire is deeply human. Anointed one. The loneliness you feel is not a sentence. It is a season. It is the space between who you were connected to and who you are being aligned with. Heaven often creates distance before connection, silence before song, solitude before assignment. You are not being pushed away from humanity. You are being positioned to engage it differently. You may have felt at times like society itself is drifting toward something cold, mechanical, and aggressive. Like empathy is being replaced by efficiency, and identity is being reduced to labels. You see people glued to screens, absorbing narratives that shape them without their consent. You sense how anger spreads faster than wisdom, and you wonder where this path leads. Chosen one. Your concern is not paranoia. It is stewardship. Those who can see trajectories are called to respond with care, not panic. You are not meant to carry the world's fear, but you are meant to carry discernment. There is a difference. Fear says, everything is ending. Discernment says, something must change. You've also noticed how social spaces have become battlegrounds rather than meeting grounds. How simple kindness now feels suspicious. How trust has eroded. You still try to model what you wish to see. You greet others. You make room. You show courtesy even when it's not returned. That effort costs you something, but it also preserves something sacred within you. Anointed One, heaven notices these small acts. The world rewards volume. God rewards faithfulness. When kindness feels inconvenient, it becomes a witness. When love feels risky, it becomes power. You are not naive for choosing decency. You are anchored. The exhaustion you feel is layered. It's exhaustion from constant alertness. Exhaustion from moral compromise being normalized. Exhaustion from watching people hurt each other while calling it progress. And yes, exhaustion from being a thinker in a time that punishes thought. You felt tempted to simplify your mind to become shallow just to survive, but something in you refuses to shrink. Chosen One, that refusal is your integrity. You were not designed to live disconnected from meaning. You were designed to seek understanding even when it costs you ease. But here, this carefully seeking meaning does not mean carrying despair. There is a difference between awareness and hopelessness. You are being invited to cross that line now. Hope does not mean denying reality. Hope means believing that reality is not finished. You have lived long enough to know that systems rise and fall, cultures shift, and power changes hands. History confirms this. What makes this moment heavy is not that collapse exists, but that many pretend it doesn't. You refuse to pretend. Anointed One, refusing to pretend does not make you cynical. It makes you honest. And honesty is the soil where real transformation grows. You are not here to romanticize the past or demonize the present. You are here to stand in truth without losing compassion. You may have asked yourself a quiet question: did I ever think I would live in a time like this? A time you once read about in books, distant and abstract. Now it feels close, personal, unfolding. That realization can be unsettling, but it is also clarifying. It strips away illusions and forces you to decide who you will be when certainty dissolves. Chosen One, you are being shaped for this moment, not overwhelmed by it. The very things that have made you feel out of place are the things that make you trustworthy. Your discomfort is evidence of alignment in progress. You are not late. You are not early. You are present. Let your spirit hear this truth. Awareness without hope is a burden, but awareness with faith becomes authority. You are not meant to carry the weight alone. You are meant to carry it with heaven's perspective. And that perspective is beginning to settle within you now. Chosen One. There comes a point when the question is no longer what is happening, but who am I becoming while this is happening? You've already crossed the first threshold by seeing clearly. Now the deeper work begins. Awareness alone can exhaust a person if it is not anchored to purpose. That is why heaven has been steadying your inner world even as the outer world feels unstable. You may have noticed that the old ways of coping no longer work. Distraction feels hollow. Constant engagement feels draining. Even productivity without meaning leaves you tired. This is not because you are failing. It is because your spirit is refusing to be sustained by substitutes. You are being drawn towards something quieter, truer, and more costly alignment. Anointed One alignment is not comfort. It is coherence. It is the moment when your thoughts, values, and actions begin to face the same direction. In a fractured world, coherence feels like peace. Not the peace of everything being fine, but the peace of knowing where you stand. That peace has been forming in you slowly, often unnoticed beneath the fatigue. There were moments you tried to explain what you were feeling to others and stopped halfway through, realizing the words wouldn't land. Not because people are incapable, but because language can't always carry discernment. Discernment is lived before it is spoken. You learned to let your life say what your mouth could not. That restraint has been shaping you. Chosen one heaven often trains leaders in obscurity, not applause. When the noise is loud, God teaches his people how to listen. When opinions are sharp, he teaches them how to remain gentle without surrendering truth. You are learning how to hold conviction without becoming combative, how to stay awake without becoming bitter. That balance is rare, and it is not accidental. You have also sensed a subtle invitation to slow your reactions. Where you once felt compelled to respond immediately, you now pause. Where you once felt the need to prove a point, you now weigh the cost. This is not withdrawal from responsibility. It is maturity. Scripture says there is a time to speak and a time to be silent. You are learning the difference, and that discernment will protect you. Anointed one, the world rewards immediacy. Heaven rewards obedience. Many chase relevance. You are being guided toward readiness. Relevance fades quickly. Readiness endures. You are being prepared for moments when clarity will be needed more than commentary, and presence will matter more than persuasion. You may have wondered why your circle has grown smaller, why certain connections faded without conflict, why familiar spaces no longer feel aligned. This pruning has been gentle but firm. God removes not to punish, but to make room. Every season of elevation in Scripture was preceded by separation. Not separation from people, but separation from distraction. Chosen one, you are not losing community. You are shedding noise. The loneliness you felt was not rejection. It was recalibration. Your spirit needed space to hear again, to breathe again, to remember what it feels like to be rooted instead of reactive. There is also a growing awareness within you that you cannot save everyone. This realization may have come with guilt at first. You care deeply. You want people to wake up, to slow down, to choose kindness over outrage. But you are learning a difficult truth: awakening cannot be forced. It must be invited, and invitations are best extended through example, not pressure. Anointed one, the frustration you felt when no one seemed to listen was never about ego. It was about urgency. You sensed the stakes. You saw the direction. But heaven is teaching you that timing matters as much as truth. A word released too early can be rejected. A word released in season can transform. You are being taught patience without passivity. You've also been wrestling with hope. Not the shallow kind that ignores reality, but the deeper kind that insists on meaning even in collapse. Hope that has survived disappointment is stronger than hope that has never been tested. Yours has been tested. You've hoped for improvement and watched conditions worsen. You've prayed for unity and seen division deepen. Yet something in you refuses to give up on the possibility of change. Chosen one, that refusal is faith. Faith is not denial. It is defiance against despair. Scripture reminds us that light shines brightest in darkness, not because darkness invites it, but because darkness cannot extinguish it. Your hope has not disappeared because it is not rooted in circumstances. It is rooted in calling. You may have sensed that your role in this season is not to fix, but to remain faithful. Not to shout, but to stand. Not to convince, but to embody. The world is loud with opinions. It is starving for integrity. You are being shaped into someone whose presence steadies rather than agitates. Someone who carries calm without apathy and conviction without cruelty. Anointed one, this is where spiritual authority begins to form. Not in platforms, but in posture. Authority grows when a person is no longer driven by fear of being misunderstood. You've reached a place where you are willing to be unseen if it means remaining true. That willingness is costly, but it is powerful. You've also been learning to tend your inner life more carefully. to guard what enters your mind, to limit what drains your spirit, to choose nourishment over stimulation. These choices may seem small, but they are forming a foundation. Scripture speaks of building on rock rather than sand. You are choosing rock in a shifting landscape. Chosen one, there is a quiet strength emerging in you. You may not feel strong, but strength is not always loud. Sometimes it is simply the ability to remain present without collapsing, to stay compassionate without becoming consumed, to keep loving without becoming naive. This strength will matter more than charisma in the days ahead. You may still feel tired. That is honest. Preparation is tiring. Growth stretches muscles you didn't know you had. But there is a difference now. The fatigue no longer feels meaningless. It feels like exertion with direction, like training rather than punishment. Anointed One, heaven is not ignoring the state of the world, nor is it asking you to carry it alone. God has always worked through those who could see clearly without losing their soul. You are being formed into one of those people, not hurried, not frantic, but grounded, awake, and available. As the noise continues, you will find your center more quickly. As opinions intensify, your clarity will deepen. As others rush to extremes, you will recognize the power of steadiness. This is not neutrality, it is rootedness, and rootedness outlasts storms. Let this settle in your spirit. You are not awakened to despair. You are awakened to stand, not above others, but within the moment, carrying a different weight. The weight of responsibility paired with hope, the weight of truth paired with love. You are not here to escape the world. You are here to remain human within it, and that in itself is a prophetic act. There is a subtle shift that happens when you stop asking the world to make sense and start asking yourself how you will remain true within it. You may not have noticed the exact moment it happened, but you crossed that line quietly. You stopped expecting clarity from systems that thrive on confusion. You stopped looking to crowds for confirmation, and in that quiet turning inward, something steadied. Chosen one. This is where inner authority begins. Not the kind that dominates, but the kind that governs. You are learning how to regulate your spirit instead of reacting to every stimulus. You are learning that peace is not something the world grants you. It is something you steward. And stewardship requires discipline, not withdrawal. There were days you felt tempted to harden yourself just to survive, to stop caring, to shut down emotionally, to become distant enough that nothing could touch you. But something deeper within you resisted that path. You knew that numbness would protect you from pain, but it would also disconnect you from purpose. You chose to stay open even when openness hurt. That choice matters. Anointed One. Compassion in a fractured world is not accidental. It is cultivated. You've learned how to set boundaries without building walls. You've learned how to observe without absorbing. You've learned how to feel without drowning. These skills were not given to you overnight. They were forged in moments when you had to choose between becoming bitter or becoming wise. You've also begun to recognize patterns, how cycles of outrage repeat, how fear is recycled and repackaged, how urgency is manufactured to keep people distracted from deeper questions. Once you see these patterns, you cannot unsee them. That awareness can feel isolating at first, but it also frees you. You are no longer pulled by every wave. You can stand still while others rush past. Chosen one, standing still does not mean doing nothing. It means choosing intention over impulse. It means acting from clarity rather than pressure. The world moves fast, but speed does not equal progress. Many are exhausted because they are running without direction. You are learning how to walk with purpose, even if that walk looks slower from the outside. There has also been a quiet recalibration of your values. Things that once mattered no longer hold the same weight. Recognition feels less important. Approval feels less urgent. You are less interested in being right and more interested in being aligned. That shift is not accidental. It is a sign that your identity is rooting itself deeper than circumstance. Anointed One, heaven often prepares people for influence by first removing their need for it. When you no longer crave validation, you become trustworthy. When you no longer fear obscurity, you become grounded. You are learning how to live without constant affirmation, and that freedom is strengthening you. You may have noticed that your intuition has sharpened. You sense when something is off before it becomes obvious. You feel when a situation carries hidden tension. You know when to speak and when to wait. This discernment did not come from theory. It came from lived experience, from mistakes, from moments when you listened and moments when you didn't. Wisdom has a texture that information lacks. Chosen One. There were times you doubted yourself for being cautious. You wondered if you were becoming too guarded, too selective. But caution rooted in discernment is not fear. It is respect for your own capacity. You've learned that not every battle is yours, and not every cause requires your energy. That discernment preserves strength for when it truly matters. There is also a growing sense of responsibility within you. Not responsibility to fix everything, but responsibility to remain honest, to not contribute to the noise, to not amplify fear, to not trade truth for comfort. You've realized that integrity is not loud, but it is consistent, and consistency changes environments over time. Anointed One, consistency is the quiet force that outlasts chaos. Trends burn fast and fade quickly. Character builds slowly and endures. You are being shaped toward endurance, toward a steadiness that does not depend on circumstances aligning perfectly. That steadiness will become a refuge for others, even if they cannot name why they feel calmer around you. You may have sensed that people are drawn to you differently now, not because you have answers, but because you listen. Not because you dominate conversations, but because you hold space. In a world where everyone is trying to be heard, presence becomes rare. You offer presence naturally, and that presence heals more than words. Chosen One, do not underestimate the power of being grounded. The world is not only hungry for solutions, it is hungry for examples. Examples of patience, examples of humility, examples of strength without aggression. You are becoming one of those examples, not by striving, but by staying faithful to what you know is true. There is also a deepening trust happening within you. Trust, not that everything will go your way, but that you will remain guided even when things don't. That trust allows you to release control. You no longer feel the need to predict every outcome. You focus on faithfulness instead of foresight. That shift lightens the weight you carry. Anointed One. Faithfulness does not mean passivity. It means obedience to the moment you are in. Right now, obedience looks like tending your inner life, guarding your attention, choosing what you consume, choosing how you respond. These choices may seem ordinary, but they are shaping the foundation for what comes next. You have also begun to see how the world tries to pull people into extremes, to simplify complex realities into enemies and allies, to turn every disagreement into a battle. You refuse that simplification. You know that truth is often found in tension, not slogans. Holding that tension requires maturity. You are developing that maturity. Chosen One. There is a cost to staying balanced in an unbalanced world. You may be misunderstood. You may be labeled as distant or indifferent. But you know the truth. You care deeply. You just refuse to let your care be exploited. That refusal is not coldness. It is wisdom. You've learned how to grieve without collapsing, to acknowledge loss without losing hope, to recognize decline without surrendering to despair. These are not small achievements. They mark a soul that has walked through confusion and emerged clearer. Anointed One clarity does not mean certainty. It means orientation. You know which direction you face, even if the path ahead is still unfolding. That orientation will guide your steps when choices become difficult. It will anchor you when pressure increases. There is a quiet confidence forming now, not arrogance but assurance. You are less shaken by the chaos because you are no longer trying to control it. You are rooted, and roots do not panic when storms come. They hold. Let this truth settle. The world may be unraveling in places, but you are being woven together. Your awareness, your restraint, your compassion and your discernment are not random traits. They are threads forming something durable. You are not here to be consumed by the times. You are here to remain whole within them. And wholeness in a fractured world is one of the most powerful testimonies there is. There is a moment when the noise no longer pulls at you the way it once did. It doesn't disappear, but it loses authority. You still hear it, still see it, still recognize the chaos moving through the world, but it no longer dictates your inner state. That moment may have arrived quietly for you without ceremony, yet it marks a profound transition. Chosen One. This is the point where awareness becomes grounding instead of draining. You are no longer just observing what is wrong. You are learning how to remain right within it. And that shift changes everything. The weight you once carried alone is now being redistributed. Not removed entirely, but balanced by understanding. You've noticed that your reactions have softened, not because you care less, but because you see more clearly. Where you once felt urgency to respond, you now feel permission to pause. Where you once felt compelled to engage, you now feel discernment guiding you to step back. That restraint is not withdrawal from life, it is wisdom taking root. Anointed One. The world thrives on reaction. It feeds on instant responses, emotional spikes and constant engagement. But heaven operates differently. Heaven moves through alignment, timing and stillness. You are being trained to operate by a different rhythm, one that cannot be manipulated by headlines or hijacked by outrage. There is also a subtle strengthening happening in your identity. You are less defined by what you oppose and more defined by what you stand for. You know what you value. You know what you refuse to compromise. You know what kind of person you are becoming, even if you don't yet see where that path leads. That clarity is stabilizing you. Chosen One. You may have realized that the world often confuses intensity with importance. Loud voices dominate attention, but they rarely produce wisdom. You are learning that quiet conviction carries more weight than loud certainty. That realization has freed you from the need to perform your beliefs. You live them instead. You've also become more selective with your energy. You no longer give equal attention to everything demanding it. You recognize that attention is sacred currency. Where you invest it shapes you. So you choose more carefully now what you read, what you watch, what conversations you enter. These choices are not avoidance. They are stewardship. Anointed One. Stewardship of the inner life is one of the most countercultural acts there is right now. In a world that encourages constant consumption, you are learning to cultivate discernment. You are no longer trying to keep up with everything. You are focused on staying true to what matters. That focus will preserve you. There is also a growing trust forming between you and God. Not the trust that demands answers, but the trust that rests without them. You've learned that not every question needs immediate resolution. Some truths unfold with time, not explanation. You are becoming comfortable with mystery, and that comfort is a sign of maturity. Chosen one. This trust allows you to release the illusion of control. You no longer feel responsible for predicting every outcome or preventing every collapse. You understand now that your role is not to manage the world, but to remain faithful within it. That realization has lightened a burden you carried longer than you should have. You may still feel sorrow when you look at the state of humanity. You may still grieve the loss of civility, depth, and compassion. But that grief no longer paralyzes you. It moves through you instead of settling inside you. You've learned how to feel without becoming consumed. That emotional regulation is strength, not detachment. Anointed One's strength often looks unimpressive to the world. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention. It simply endures. You are becoming someone who endures with integrity. Someone who does not lose themselves when pressure increases. Someone who can hold tension without fracturing. You've also begun to notice moments of peace returning, not because circumstances improved, but because your inner alignment deepened. Peace now visits you in unexpected places, in quiet mornings, in moments of reflection, in simple acts of presence. That peace is not fragile. It is resilient. It doesn't depend on the world behaving well. Chosen one. Resilient peace is one of the greatest testimonies you can carry. In a restless world, calm becomes contagious. People may not understand why they feel steadier around you, but they will. Your presence communicates something your words never could. You may also sense that your life is being simplified. Not smaller, but clearer. You need less to feel grounded. You crave fewer distractions. You value depth over breadth. That simplification is not loss, it is refinement. Scripture speaks of pruning not to diminish, but to strengthen. You are being pruned toward fruitfulness. Anointed one. Fruitfulness does not always appear immediately. Sometimes it begins underground in the unseen places where roots deepen. You are in that rooting phase, strengthening your foundation so that when responsibility increases, you can carry it without collapse. There is also an invitation unfolding before you to live intentionally rather than reactively, to choose how you show up each day instead of letting the day decide for you. You are learning to ask different questions. Not what is happening now, but how will I respond faithfully? That shift puts you back in alignment with purpose. Chosen. One purpose is not always dramatic. Often it is expressed through consistency, through showing up with integrity, through refusing to contribute to harm even when harm is normalized, through choosing kindness when it is inconvenient. These choices may feel small, but they shape the future more than noise ever could. You've also recognized that you don't need to convince everyone. You don't need universal agreement. You don't need validation from systems that profit from confusion. You are content being aligned even if misunderstood. That contentment is freedom. Anointed one. Freedom is not the absence of constraint. It is the presence of direction. You now move with direction. Even when the path ahead is unclear, your orientation is steady. You know which way your heart faces. That knowledge anchors you. There will still be days when the weight returns, days when the world feels heavy again, but you are no longer alone with it. You have learned how to bring that weight into stillness instead of carrying it into noise. You have learned where to rest your attention. You have learned how to return to center. Chosen one. You are not emerging from this season unchanged. You are emerging steadier, wiser, and more grounded than before. The awareness that once felt like a burden has become a guide. The sensitivity that once overwhelmed you has become discernment. The loneliness that once hurt you has created depth. Let this truth settle fully. Now you were never meant to be consumed by what you see. You were meant to stand within it with clarity, compassion, and courage. The world may continue to shake, but you are learning how to remain anchored. And an anchored soul in unstable times becomes a quiet answer to many unspoken questions. Chosen one, before you go, receive this moment as a seal upon what has been released. What you sensed was real. What you've been carrying was not imagined. And what has been stirring within you is not random. Heaven has been confirming you throughout this message because you are standing in your exact Kairos moment, the appointed time where awareness turns into alignment and alignment turns into movement. Anointed One. A supernatural transfer is already in motion, not rushed, not forced, but precise. What once felt heavy is being exchanged for clarity. What once felt lonely is being exchanged for divine assurance. You are not leaving this moment the same way you entered it. Something has shifted quietly, deeply, and irreversibly. Remain faithful, stay aligned. Do not rush what God is unfolding. Gratitude will keep you positioned, and stillness will keep you protected. Look ahead, not with fear, but with reverence, because what is coming will make sense of what you endured. If this message resonated with your spirit, let it anchor through obedience. You may quietly affirm this moment in the comments, and if you feel led, share where you're watching from, not for visibility, but for connection. And stay close. Remain subscribed, remain watchful, remain open, because this is not the end of the word. It is the sending. Go in peace, chosen one. What heaven began here will be completed.